Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
We can get started.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रज भूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। सामवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshna Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachari. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home, text 42. One second. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhascha damabhihi vaktantyam namabhirbaddha vahanti balimishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhascha damabhihi vaktantyam namabhirbaddha vahanti balimishituhu. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhascha damabhihi vaktantyam namabhirbaddha vahanti balimishituhu. This chant.
Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhascha damabhihi yaktantyam namabhir baddha vahanti balim isituhu. Hare Krishna.
Bhagavo nasi protas tantyam baddhas chatamabhi vaktantyam namabhir baddha vahanti balim ishitu.
You can go. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhashyadamapihi vaktantyam namapi baddha vahanti balimishitu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhasya damabhihi vaktantyam namabhir baddha vahanti balimahishituhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. We'll do word-to-word translation. Yatha, as much as. Gavaha, cow. Nasi, by the nose. Protah, strung. Tantyam, by the thread. Baddhaha, bound by. Cha, also. Damabhihi, by ropes. Vak tantyam, in the network of Vedic hymns. Namabhihi, by nomenclatures. Baddhaha, conditioned. Vahanti, carry on. Balim, orders. Ishituhu, for being controlled by the Supreme Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. Purport. Every living being, whether a man or an animal or a bird, thinks that he is free by himself. But actually, no one is free from the severe laws of the Lord. The laws of the Lord are severe because they cannot be disobeyed in any circumstance. The man-made laws may be evaded by cunning outlaws, but in the codes of the Supreme Lawmaker, there is not the slightest possibility of neglecting the laws. A slight change from the course of God-made law, can bring about a massive danger to be faced by the lawbreaker. Such laws of the Supreme are generally known as the codes of religion under different conditions. But the principle of religion everywhere is one and the same, namely, to obey the orders of the Supreme God, the codes of religion. That is the condition of material existence. All living beings in the material world have taken up the risk of conditioned life by their own selection and are thus entrapped by the laws of material nature. The only way to get out of the entanglement is to agree to obey the Supreme. But instead of becoming free from the clutches of Maya or illusion, foolish human beings become bound up by different nomenclatures, being designated as Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Hindus, Mohammedans, Indians, Europeans, Americans, Chinese, and many others. And thus they carry out the orders of the Supreme Lord under the influence of respective scriptural or legislative injunctions. The statutory laws of the state are imperfect imitation replicas of religious codes. The secular state or the godless state allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. The result is that the people in general suffer more by breaking the laws of God than by obeying the imperfect laws made by man. Every man is imperfect by constitution under conditions of material existence. And there is not the least possibility that even the most materially advanced man can enact perfect legislation. On the other hand, there is no such imperfection in the laws of God. If leaders are educated in the laws of God, there is no necessity of a makeshift legislative council of aimless men. There is necessity of change in the makeshift laws of man, but there is no change in the God-made laws because they are made perfect by the all-perfect personality of Godhead. The codes of religion, scriptural injunctions are made by liberated representatives of God in consideration of different conditions of living, and by carrying out the orders of the Lord, the conditioned living beings gradually become free from the clutches of material existence. The factual position of the living being is, however, that he is the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. In his liberated state, he renders service to the Lord in transcendental love and thus enjoys a life of full freedom, even sometimes on an equal level with the Lord, or sometimes more than the Lord. But in the conditioned material world, every living being wants to be the Lord of other living beings. And thus, by the illusion of Maya, this mentality of lording it over becomes a cause of further extension of conditional life. So in the material world, the living being is still more conditioned until he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship. That is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita and all other recognized scriptures of the world. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yatha gavo nasi protas tantyam baddhascha damabhihi vak tantyam namabhir baddha vahanti balim ishituhu. As a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. So, the context here is Dhritarashtra Maharaj left to go to the forest after he understood, after he was enlightened by the instructions of Vidura. Then Vidura, of course, also went with Dhritarashtra Maharaj to ensure that Dhritarashtra Maharaj he perfected the path that he was about to embark on. And Gandhari, she also, adhering to her a dharma as a chaste wife followed in the footsteps of her husband. And then Sanjaya, the personal assistant, chariot driver of Dhritarashtra Maharaj, was in great loss when he found out that his master had left without informing him. And when Yudhishthir Maharaj came the next day morning to offer his obeisances to the elders, he found that his uncles were not there. Gandhari was not there. Only Sanjaya was there weeping in that room. So when Yudhishthir Maharaj found out that they had left, he thought that how much suffering they must have gone through. I mean, especially Dhritarashtra Maharaj and his wife Gandhari. After the battle of Kurukshetra, experiencing the loss of their 100 sons, tasting defeat in the battle, in that old age, now living in the home of the people who have defeated him. How much he must have suffered, and maybe we neglected them. We didn't take care of them properly, because of which they felt so helpless that they went and drowned themselves in the Ganga. So here we see Yudhishthir Maharaj's character. Yudhishthir Maharaj is a Vaishnava. So we see a prominent quality of a Vaishnava in Yudhishthir Maharaj. When things go wrong, when a devotee is tested, he does not blame the circumstances, or he does not blame another person. Rather, he takes full responsibility of that. And also, he is guided constantly by the scriptures, by the instructions of the Bhagavatas. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we find Lord Brahma, when he's offering prayers to Lord Krishna, there he says, Tattenu kampasu samikshamana bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. So he's saying that that devotee who is able to endure the sufferings that come in his life, and he's able to accept them as the results of his own past sinful activities. And even in the face of such difficult situation, he continues to offer obeisances to the Lord, continues to serve the Lord in gratitude. Such a devotee has a claim to go back to Godhead. So all the difficulties that the Pandavas had to endure, all the difficulties that Yudhishthir Maharaj had to endure, they were cheated in the gambling, their kingdom was usurped unlawfully, their wife was insulted in the assembly of all these Kshatriya men, and then they were sent to the forest to live in exile for 13 years. And after they fulfilled all the conditions, their kingdom was not returned to them. They had to fight a battle. And in that battle, they lost all their soldiers were killed. So much suffering. Still, Yudhishthir Maharaj, not once did he think that this is Dhritarashtra Maharaj's fault, although it was, because Dhritarashtra Maharaj blindly supported his son. But in spite of all this, Yudhishthir Maharaj blamed himself. Why? Because he's a Vaishnava. He is Dharmaraj. He always adhered to the principles of Dharma. So, when Yudhishthir Maharaj was feeling so, he was blaming himself for the situation, and he was really concerned about Dhritarashtra Maharaj and Gandhari. At that time, Narad Muni arrived. And what did Narad Muni say? Of course, first of all, Yudhishthir Maharaj received Narad Muni like a saintly person should be received, offering obeisances. And then he informed Narad Muni, not informed, he inquired from Narad Muni, where did my uncle and my aunt go? So Narad Muni, we read earlier in the first, earlier chapters, I believe it's in the 5th chapter. There it is said that Narad Muni is like Paramatma. He knows everything that is happening. How does he know everything? Because he's completely in line with Krishna's desires, with Krishna's mission. So whatever he needs to know at any time, in any place, it is revealed to him by the Lord in his heart. So that's how Narad Muni was able to inform Vyasdev where he was going wrong. So similarly here also Yudhishthir Maharaj is inquiring from Narad Muni what happened to his uncles. So Narad Muni said, "O pious king, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore all living beings are there and their leaders, the living beings and their leaders, carry on worship to be well protected. It is he only who brings them together and disperses them." And then today's verse, as a cow bound through the nose by a long rope is conditioned, so also human beings are bound by different Vedic injunctions and are conditioned to obey the orders of the Supreme. So what is Narad Muni saying? That we are all controlled by the Supreme Lord. We are all controlled by the Supreme Lord. We don't have freedom to act in whichever way we like. In the conditioned state, we are completely bound. In every state, actually, we are bound by what? We are bound by the orders of the Supreme Lord. So the first point is, he is the Supreme Master. He is in full control. We are his subordinates. We are meant to serve him. He is the king and we are the servants. The servants are meant to serve the king, to please the king. But it's very interesting that when we come to this material world, by the way, we come here by our own choice. Prabhupada says that in the purport, that all living beings in the material world have taken up the risk of conditioned life by their own selection. We chose to become conditioned. Yes. And then what is the result? Once we come here, why did we come here? That also Srila Prabhupada is saying. We came here because we want to lord over other living beings. We want to be the master. We want to be the enjoyer. We want to lord over other living beings. We want to be free and we want to control. That's why we have come to this material world. We have chosen to come here. But the irony is We came here to be independent masters and controllers, but it is just the opposite. Actually, the fact is we are completely bound, we are completely controlled. But under illusion, we think I am free. This is the, you can say, the beauty of Maya. Maya makes us think that I'm free, I'm independent. Liberation, women's liberation, or independence movement. We want freedom, isn't it? And then Maya makes us believe that, yes, you are free now. How free are we in this world? So whether we rebel against the laws of God, or whether we obediently agree to follow the laws of God, in both cases, we are actually controlled by Him. Somebody who has rebelled against the laws of God. So by the way, what are the laws of God? How do we know? That we know from the scriptures. There are laws. There are laws of the Lord that are given to us in the scriptures. They are called the codes of religion, Prabhupada is saying. So in different religions, there are codes. There are laws given. And the underlying principle of all religions is one must obey the orders of the Supreme Lord. You must obey the orders of the Supreme Lord. And if you don't obey the orders of the Supreme Lord, you are forced actually to obey. You're forced to obey the orders of Maya, illusion. So, in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that when somebody is trying to become free and independent, in what way is Maya tying him up? In what way is Maya binding that person? Now, although he's thinking he's free, but still, he's now identifying himself with different groups, with different designations. He identifies himself, he gives himself so many designations. I belong to this particular group, or I am this, some position, right? This particular faith, this particular nationality, this gender. And then I have some rules that I have to follow, right? If I take up a job in a particular company, then I have to follow the guidelines of that particular company. I'm still bound. I'm not free. I'm not free, right? Let's say I call myself a Hindu. Then I have to follow the rules that are given in Hinduism. I call myself a Muslim. Then I have to follow the rules. You may say, well, I'm an atheist. I don't care. You still have to follow the laws of the government. What will happen if you don't follow the laws of the government? You will be arrested. You will be given, you will have to pay a fine, or you will be imprisoned. So where is the freedom? Where is the freedom? Under illusion, we are thinking that I am free. But actually, we are not free. We are not free. The result, the reaction will come. When we rebel against the laws of God, in other words, when we perform sinful activities, everyone has to suffer. The lawbreakers have to suffer. Another interesting point is, now the role of the leaders in the society, like we are seeing here, Yudhishthir Maharaj, the role of the leader is to guide the followers, to train the followers, first of all, to educate the subjects about the laws of God, educate them, and then to ensure that they are following the laws of God. This is the role of the leader. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj and all the other, Parikshit Maharaj, all the Rajarshis, this was their duty. But in today's society, the leaders themselves are breaking laws. Not only are they breaking laws of God, but they are protecting people who break laws. And they're even passing various man-made laws which are against the laws of God. For example, what are the 4 pillars of sinful life? No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. These are the pillars of sinful life. The last emperor of the whole planet was Parikshit Maharaj. As long as Parikshit Maharaj was the ruler, nobody could dare engage in these sinful activities. Nobody could dare do this. But after Parikshit Maharaj, Kali came in. And then the leaders themselves are promoting these sinful activities. What to speak of controlling them, they are promoting these sinful activities. So I heard that in the 1960s, there was a president in the United States, Mr. Johnson, and he was campaigning for elections to be the president. And he used to be a cattle rancher. And in order to get funds for the campaign, he actually was advertising on a large scale, killing of innocent cows and promoting meat eating. He was advertising this, and he made a lot of money from that by slaughtering all the cows. And that money he used for campaigning, and then he became the president of the country. In India, actually this happened all over the world. Everybody understands that intoxication is not good for health. Everyone knows this. But at the same time, it brings a lot of revenue. So the leaders themselves, the government, is promoting. Yes? You know, they write in very small letters, smoking is injurious to health. But at the same time, you find so many advertisements about how it is cool to smoke. So many ads about how you should, you know, this particular brand of wine is cool. So the leaders themselves who are supposed to control sinful activities, they're promoting. What is the other pillar? Illicit sex. What is the result of illicit sex? There are many health problems, but also the first result is pregnancy. So to promote illicit sex, now they promote abortions, another sinful activity. Yes? And they come up with, as soon as you go to a doctor's office, even when you go there during your pregnancy, there's already so many, you know, pamphlets there about how to, for birth control, right? So you can continue engaging in sinful activity and you can save yourself from the reaction. This is being promoted. The teachers, doctors, they're supposed to be our guides, showing us the right path. This is the path they are showing us. And finally, gambling. There's Las Vegas here. So everybody goes there. And recently we had, not recently, a few months ago, we had Rath Yatra in Atlantic City. Atlantic City is a city where there's gambling. People come there and spend all their money and then they go, right? Being cheated. And it's being, you know, the government is allowing it. So on one hand, the leaders are breaking the laws made by God. And on the other hand, they don't mind. when people break the laws of God, they themselves are promoting, and then they pass strict rules about how you should not break man-made laws. They make their own laws, and those should be obeyed strictly. But God-made laws, you can break, no problem. What is the result of breaking God-made laws? What did Srila Prabhupada say in the purport? The laws of God are severe. They are severe. You break, some outlaws may escape, may evade man-made laws. There are many instances where people manage to get out of prison, or you're supposed to pay your taxes, but you're able to somehow or other, you have a way to get out of that. So some cunning, Prabhupada says, cunning outlaws manage to evade man-made laws. But can you evade God-made laws? No. God's laws are severe. The consequences are severe. The lawbreaker, he has to face a massive danger if he, Prabhupada saying, if there's a slight, if there is a slight negligence of these laws made by God or the codes of religion, the consequences are severe. No one can escape. So, first of all, the leaders, they don't care for God's laws. And then the reaction comes in the form of wars, hurricanes. We had a hurricane in Florida recently, and now there's after effects of that. So many people are dying because of diseases that are spreading because of the hurricane. We are still dealing with the COVID pandemic. These are all reactions of the sinful activities that are committed by people, reactions of breaking the laws of God. And then our so-called leaders, noble leaders, come to offer relief. First of all, you're promoting the causes of these reactions. And when the reactions come, you come forward to give some relief. But until and unless you deal with the root cause of the problem, simply by, putting some band-aid on top, or simply by dealing with the symptoms, these problems are not going to be solved. What is the problem? Suffering. Suffering of the conditioned souls. Repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. And even after we take birth, the conditions are more severe in Kali Yuga because the sins are also like that. This suffering will continue. So the whole purpose that I have come to this world is to be free, is to be the controller, but the opposite is happening. The opposite is happening. You can actually become free by surrendering. This is also ironical. Our idea is that I will become free by what do you say? Rejecting any authority. It's actually, if you think about it, it is very childish. It's like small children, right? I am free, like they want to imitate adults. Like I'm doing it. In their play, they pretend like I go to work and they take the old credit cards of the parents and they pretend like they have their own money and they're doing, but that's all just pretending. Are they actually free? They cannot even eat unless the parents provide them food. But still, they foolishly pretend. Now, because they're under the shelter of the Father, they think I'm free, and they even, they can talk nonsense sometimes, like they're free. But they will realize when they're on their own how much they're dependent on the Father. So similarly, foolishly we think I want to become free, and then I come here. But actually the way to become free is to surrender. When you become obedient to the laws of God, all my past sinful activities which are binding me in this material world, they will all be loosened, and I can become free from those bindings. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Simply surrender unto me. Surrender means follow the laws, the codes of religion given by God. By adhering to them, we actually become free. And our natural position is to be a servant of God. So when we are once again situated in that position, our constitutional position of being a servant of God, not only are we free from all the sinful reactions, but Prabhupada is saying, you can come to an equal platform with the Lord. And sometimes you can even be more than the Lord, like Mother Yashoda binding Krishna. Yes? Nanda Maharaj ordering Krishna, bring my shoes, and Krishna is carrying them on his head. So you can become equal or even superior, but the way is to surrender to Krishna. So those who are intelligent, they will take to this path. But the problem is majority of the people in this world are foolish, and they don't even have knowledge of what are the codes of religion, right? People simply, like yesterday, we had Bhagavad Gita happy hour, and there was one question. Kalpesh Prabhu asked a question. He was saying how one of his friends who's into Jainism, he really believes in that, and and also about the leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, and the ideas that they had. So people really take to them. They don't have the real knowledge. They're misdirected by the leaders, and they take that to be truth, and the result is they will have to suffer. So the point is, education is very important. That's why Srila Prabhupada stressed distribution of this transcendental literature. Panchatattva have appeared to flood this whole world with love of Godhead. They have come to flood the whole world with love of Godhead. So we are all the representatives of Panchatattva. So we have to assist them in distributing this knowledge. At least they should be given a chance, an opportunity to compare. This is the law of God. This is man-made laws. Let me at least give them a chance to choose. If they don't even know what is right, how will they make a choice? Like animals, right? They're tied up. They just go in whichever way the master is taken, right? But as human beings, we all are, after so many lifetimes, the living entity gets the opportunity to be a human being. So it's in this human form of life. This is a very special form of life, which gives us an opportunity to once again go back to our original position. So every human being has a right to know what is the law of God. And we as representatives of Srila Prabhupada, coming down in line from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is our duty to reach out to every person and give them this knowledge. What is that knowledge? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam raja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. This is what is taught in all religions. So don't go away from this principle. And then chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is going to save us. Otherwise, the future is very dark. So, Srila Prabhupada ends the purport with that. In the material world, the living being is still more conditioned until he surrenders unto the Lord by reviving his original state of eternal servitorship. Until and unless we take to this, until and unless we turn to the Lord in a mood of a servant, our conditioning is only going to increase. We are only going to get more and more entangled in this conditioning. So I will stop there. Thank you very much. Is there any questions or discussions from us? Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji. If anybody has questions, please just unmute yourself or raise your hand. There were just many points in the purport. When you started off, I just realized it after very many years, I understood the point. We are not this body. You know, hearing it was one thing, but this purport again makes you realize and understand why it is so important to understand that we are not this body. You know, when you, it was something you said in the very beginning. And the point that we have to surrender or else we will keep suffering. And to understand, to surrender, we have to understand we are not this body.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the point you were saying was Yudhishthir Maharaj never blamed anybody else when difficulty or something bad happened. It's unbelievable, you know, even after, of course, accepting the fact, I accept anything that Prabhupada says, you know, because even if I don't understand, I understand that he is right. And, you know, eventually, hopefully I will understand. But yeah, if you don't accept that fact, so many other points don't seem to fall into place in our understanding.
Yeah.
And the point about surrendering and not thinking that we, you know, the word freedom and the word independence is used so loosely. We are not independent. We will never be independent. And as long as we believe that we can be and we keep trying to be independent, trying to be free, we are going to entangle ourselves even more.
Even more, exactly.
And that line that Prabhupada wrote, you know, if you don't surrender and, you know, accept that you are dependent on me, you are going to, until you accept that fact, that is the line. That is what, you know, not that if you don't surrender, you will be stuck here. It's until you accept that fact, till I am going to keep teaching you this lesson.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
And the fact about, you know, you were saying we are all representatives. And I think over the last few classes, we've been talking about how do we convince people. We are obviously convinced. Those of us who are on this class today, we are all convinced. And we somehow, we struggle with how to convince some people that we see who could really use this, this knowledge to get them out of their misery. You know, we can see it, but they cannot seem to see. And you know, we were talking about how Dhritarashtra never listened to him. He always heard Vidura's counsel. I had heard that every night he insisted on Vidura coming into his room and giving him, you know, lessons and everything. But he did not accept those teachings. He did whatever he wanted to do, or gratified his senses, not listening. But at the end, again, Vidura came. Sometimes we hear, don't preach to people who are not accepting or who are, but Vidura did at the end. And we struggle with that, especially with our families. Yesterday, Kalpesh Prabhu was saying, my cousins, my mother and I had gone to Rochester to visit relatives. And it's the same thing, we try to say something. They are trying to make their efforts. I won't say that they are not godly people, but they are going in a slightly different direction. But we don't give up. And I feel in those cases, when they see your firm faith, they wonder, what is it she's, how is it she's not shaking, or he's not shaking from his belief? What is it? I feel when you have firm faith in Srila Prabhupada's teachings and you go along, they will turn around eventually. It's obviously not in our hands, right? We always learn. We have to keep making our effort, and that is all that we can do. Whether they take it or not is up to Krishna, not up to us.
Yes. Yes, Madhu. Yeah, about this Yudhishthir Maharaj not blaming others, there were a few points actually, that even in our day-to-day life, we actually face these challenges. Sometimes there is a loss, then you're experiencing some misery, some difficulty, and then you blame somebody for my pain, my difficulty, or some situation. And another instance is where you are experiencing fear. And even there, in that fear, you blame some other situation or some person for my condition of fear. Or there is confusion. This is another thing. You don't understand why somebody is acting in a certain way, what is the motivation. So there is confusion. So these are things that we are facing on a day-to-day basis: fear and pain and misery and confusion. So it is important, coming back to this purport, about hearing from Shastra. Shastra will clear this cloud of doubts, confusion, and Shastra will give us the right mindset, how to approach a situation. So that is why it is very important to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam every day. It's not that I have finished reading Srimad Bhagavatam, now I understand. This is our daily medicine, right? This is our preparation. So then, how is Yudhishthir Maharaj able to do that? Right? He's able to maintain that consciousness after so much loss. Still, he's not blaming anyone else, and he's still blaming himself. How is he able to do that? So actually, I was listening to a lecture by my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj. So Maharaj gave the examples of Chitraketu. Chitraketu Maharaj, he didn't have a son and he was lamenting. But when he heard from sadhus, from Angira Muni, when he heard from Narad Muni, then he understood how to see things in the right perspective. Otherwise, the mind will drag me. I will say, it may be false or it may be true. It doesn't matter. But the point is, I'm going far away from my constitutional position of being a servant. I'm being captured by Maya. That is the whole thing. The leaders have to bring everyone to this point of Krishna, connect the people to Krishna directly. So you were saying, we understand, but we don't know how to bring them. So again, you answered that when we are convinced ourselves, when our faith will convince the other person. And our faith will be strong when we are in connection on a day-to-day basis, at moment-to-moment basis, actually, not just day-to-day basis. The more we are connected, the more we are able to pass on that, because we are not the doers. Again, you mentioned that, right? The mercy is coming through Krishna. But for the mercy to come through me, I have to be connected properly.
Yes.
like that. So yeah, nice points, Mataji. Thank you.
Um,
Hare Krishna Mataji. I wanted to thank you. I mean, I don't have, because way you sound to me, every words are enlightening to us, because we are not at your level right now. But thank you very much for this class.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Actually, I'm also not on the level, but I try to repeat what I hear because I feel at least that way I do some justice. I try to repeat what I hear and pass on the message. And meanwhile, I hope that I will also be helped because I'm also struggling. I'm also struggling. It's not like I'm free. Sonia.
Thank you very much for all this.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So today is the 24-hour kirtan. Okay, somebody, Mother Vidya.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just making an announcement that there is 24-hour kirtan. So please, everybody, Amal Kirtan Prabhu has been invited. I hear he will start at 8 o'clock. So it will be very nice if, I think the 24-hour kirtan starts at 5. I should know that, right? If I'm making the announcement. But yeah, please, everybody, a lot of people actually enjoy staying overnight and attending Mangalarti because we never get to do that. So whenever you are able to, please join the 24-hour Kirtan.
Thank you.
That's the only announcement I know of.
Sonia Mataji and then Vindhyavali Mataji raising hand. Sonia Mataji raised first.
Yeah, that was Kalpesh Prabhu, I think.
No. There's another. Yeah, Sonia
Yeah.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you very much for the class. And the one point I like is association. I have noticed that like when we go around the other association, our thoughts and those are get influenced. And we are getting away from the real knowledge and the Krishna consciousness. So the most powerful thing I feel is the association.
Yeah, that's a $1 billion point, Mataji. It is. Association is most powerful and most important. And it works both ways, as you said. So you take the wrong association, you'll be affected by that. So from our side, we should seek out the right association.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mataji, for the wonderful class and association of all the Vaishnavas.
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Vindhyavali Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, as usual, your class is very good and I enjoyed. But for everything, like Krishna says, Kala, I am Kala. But the time has to come. And from childhood, like Kalpesh Prabhu was saying, from childhood we hear lots of things. And at those timings, some of the times, not recent past generation, before, we never dared to ask any questions to anybody. That was the thing, my childhood. Now, whatever people say, oh yeah, that is correct or something, because elders are saying something, either they, with their experience, or either they are not that much informative. Okay. So that's how we went through. Like you said, that's correct. But, we never asked any questions. And then the classes or anything, Zoom, it was there before. Television, it was there before. Cell phones, we didn't have any. But we used to believe whatever they are saying, elders, because they are bringing up, they are from the childhood, we see mother and father, we see the close relatives, we see elders, how to behave with elders. Is there anything now, generation, that behave with elders? Tell me. So let's keep on changing like that. Is there any parents? Most of the parents, they don't even tell them. Bow down to elders and welcome them, elders. Now, I see very rarely. Few families I can see. Just I had count on fingers, that's it. So why is this going up? Because, so that as half of the things are parents' responsibility. But before it was not like that. whatever our parents said, sometimes there is, like you are saying that, leaders are, they are just giving that liberty, drink and this, that, everything. But then again, they are showing that remedy, they are giving the, how to get out of that. But, my mother used to say, if you have a fence to the land for paddy, if the fence is eating the paddy, where will you go? That's how we learned from the words only. We never went anywhere like this, and no Zoom, nothing, nobody, no association, nothing. Or go to school and do that and learn something. That's it. That's how we were born and brought up. And those kind of words only we want to tell the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Say, this is the age you have to get married. This is the age you have to bring up your children so that you will have energy to either make money or just take care of the grandkids or something. You will have something to support your family. But, after when you get old and you want to have kids, what will happen? Nothing. No, for everything, yes. Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam saranraja. I know that. But for everything, that also, my olden days, I used to hear my younger days. Put a lamp in the air and then see that, God will protect the lamp in the very much windy place. So you have to protect a little bit your duty, and then only God will protect you. That's how we used to learn that. So those things are there. So some of them, if people listen to elders, or what they are saying, what their knowledge, and then a lot of things we don't have enough time to do in our lifetime, and we lose half of like me at end of the age. I'm learning all these things, association and reading Bhagavatam, everything. So you won't get that time also younger age. You have your own duties, children, husband, everything, this, that.
Yeah.
So that's how. A lot of things are there. Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I
that's
don't know.
why, Mataji, leaders play a very important role. Yad yad acharati shreshtas tattad evetaro jana. Sayat pramanam kurite lokastad anuvartate. Whatever actions the leaders perform, the followers are observing, listening, and they're following. So then the responsibility of the leaders is also so grave, so important. So parents are natural leaders of the children. If the parents are themselves not following, then they become responsible for the children getting spoiled.
That's true.
So you said you learned this from your parents because they heard from what they heard from their parents, they're passing it on to you. Isn't it? So therefore, we should see, okay, whether I have received it or not, never mind. By Srila Prabhupada's mercy, now we are receiving it.
Yeah.
Either through parents or through gurus, one way or the other, we are receiving the true knowledge. Now our responsibility is to pass it to the next generation. Teach them the values. Yes, that is going to protect them. Otherwise, yeah.
That's what my question is, but now everything is available now.
Yeah.
You can just tell children and guide them.
And then time, Mataji, time changes, like there are symptoms of Kali Yuga. So how much can we do? I mean, fight against that. We can only do our bit. The result is not in our hands, right? So, yeah. So instead of seeing how, I mean, we can observe, but at the end of the day, we can just offer what is within my capacity. I can do my part.
Yeah.
And then
let's do Krishna only. Yeah, everybody, we're all elderly people also. We are saying something and leave it to Krishna. That's it.
we tried our best to follow, and then the result is not in our hands.
Not in our hands.
Hare Krishna, I just want to say a few words. Hare Krishna, Mataji, very, very nice class. All these classes really, they put me on the right track actually. Whenever I begin to forget about Krishna or something, I get busy in material world. So whenever like in the morning, I hear these classes, and just I began on like come on the right track.
Yes, yes.
And also I say that because of influence of our parents in our childhood, so we get attracted to these things. We want to hear about it. But these days in this country, it's very important that sometimes I feel that in the temple, people come there only during holidays. And then most of the time, very few people appear. So we should like call them and tell them we care about you, we miss you, come back. We didn't see you for a long time. So that's why we will bring them to the temple, and then it will be helpful to their family, also kids also. So my kids now, they used to come to Sunday school before, but now they don't come. I'm always worried about them. I tell every time on the phone, I always end with, okay, whatever you do, remember Krishna. Keep Krishna in the center. Don't forget Krishna. And try to memorize some shlokas, Gita shlokas. That's what I say. And if I can tell little story, but I hear, I tell them, they listen. So what I want them to be more into this path of bhakti.
Very nice point, Mataji. Thank you about that. That when you notice that some devotees haven't been coming for some time, then you reach out to them and tell them, we are missing you. Please come, to inspire them to come to Krishna like that. So that's a very good point. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Prabhupada-ji, thanks to Archana Mataji, kind of association. So we will be in right track. Now,
for your association.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhobhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय,
Jai.
प्रभुपाद की जय,
Jai.
गौर भक्तवृंद की जय।
Jai.